Hey, what's going on? I'm Ochanda with Kush Konvos TV. On Monday, the United States inaugurated Donald Trump as its 47th president. With him, he brought the agenda of signing executive orders. For the definition, it's a rule or order issued by the president to an executive branch of the government and having the force of law. So, with that being said, what we are going to talk about here today at Kush Convos TV is how these executive orders that he has signed so far can affect the African diaspora and African and Caribbean immigrants. Let's take a look.
About is the executive order signed by President Trump to deport immigrants deemed undesirable, gang members, and people who have committed crimes, among others. The sign taking on new meaning with a new directive from the Justice Department today, ordering federal prosecutors to bring criminal charges against local officials who don't cooperate with raids by federal immigration agents known as ICE. Federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, and otherwise failing to comply with lawful immigration-related commands, wrote Emil Bovey III, the department's acting deputy attorney general. Bovey's three-page memo also instructs the Justice Department's civil division to identify state and local laws and policies that threaten to impede the president's deportation policies and challenge them in court. It's unclear whether the Justice Department will seek to challenge New York City's sanctuary laws. The situation here is complicated. The city already cooperates with ICE agents in going after people who commit some 170 crimes, including murder and rape. But NYPD cops and city agencies are prohibited from helping with deportations, which are civil matters.
Many of Trump's first orders curtail immigration at the southern border. He promised mass deportations, but hasn't detailed how he would implement staff funding to such a massive and costly operation. So what this means is that there is the threat of looming deportations for the African diaspora and African Caribbean immigrants. What this says to you is that should you be in the United States illegally, you should be concerned. I would take this as at least a sign or a call that in your best interest, it would be to gather information from legal counsel, immigration attorney, or legal groups representing immigrants in the sense.
President Trump signing an executive order tonight that attempts to end birthright citizenship in the United States. That right is guaranteed by the Constitution. The 14th Amendment states anyone born in the United States is an American citizen, but President Trump wants to exclude children born to parents who entered this country illegally.
He'd have to change the Constitution of the United States and revoke the 14th Amendment. Last time I checked, presidents can't do that all by executive authority. Now, can he try to cripple it, undermine it?
Birthright.
President Trump was asked in the Oval Office about potential legal challenges to the executive order. He called the idea, quote, ridiculous and said, quote, we have very good grounds.
Trump signed a birthright citizenship executive order. One of his boldest moves was an attempt to end birthright citizenship for those born to undocumented immigrants. So birthright citizenship is protected by the U.S. Constitution, and the order already faces legal challenges. Well, Trump has ordered agencies starting 30 days after the order not to recognize children as citizens if their mothers were unlawfully present at the time of birth and their father was not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. This applies to children born to mothers who were lawful temporary residents and fathers who were not citizens or lawful permanent residents. So what this is referring to is the term anchor babies might have been thrown around. And that term may be derogatory, but what that means is, and referring to is individuals that were looking to have children born in the United States, even though they weren't citizens or permanent residents themselves. And so thus they were anchoring that their kids being born on U.S. soil would keep them in the United States country. If you're an African or Caribbean immigrant and you have a child, your wife is pregnant currently right now, or has been pregnant and is looking to be due, there's a chance that not only could you and your wife or you and your husband could be deported back to your respective countries, but also that child would also be deported as well. And if they aren't deported, there is now an order that says that they wouldn't be granted citizenship. The U.S. Constitution has protected individuals that when you are born on U.S. soil, you are automatically given citizenship. Over here on my screen, we have a list of countries that do not recognize birthright citizenship. And these are some of the countries, but the U.S. is a country that recognizes that once an individual is born on U.S. soil, you are a United States citizen.
CBS News has obtained the memos sent to federal agencies outlining President Trump's executive order eliminating all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the federal government.
It was expected, but it's reprehensible. It is nothing but an effort to repeal the progress that this nation has made over the last 60 years, and it has to be resisted.
We believe the DEI is just an unnecessary layer of bureaucracy.
DEI programs were designed to provide a fair work environment and employment opportunities for minorities, including women, ethnic minorities, and members of the LGBTQ community.
Don't fall for the false argument that this is about the restoration of merit. What this is really about is saying that only some with merit deserve a chance.
Most Republicans call DEI initiatives woke and unnecessary and say the Biden administration refused to even disclose how many people were hired for DEI positions.
The first step is to end it, figure out how many employees we're talking about, and then figure out can these employees be terminated or can these employees be moved into another position in the federal government where they're needed.
The president's action places all federal DEI employees on paid leave, suspends their email access, cancels all diversity-related training, and removes DEI-focused web pages from federal sites. Sources tell me hundreds of federal workers in the tri-state area are now in limbo, including employees at the Army Corps of Engineers, Housing and Urban Development, and the Environmental Protection Agency. The executive order also contains language dissuading private companies that receive government contracts from hiring employees from marginalized backgrounds. It also asks government agencies to identify private companies that might be subject to civil investigation based on what President Trump calls, quote, illegal DEI discrimination and preferences. In the past few weeks, companies like Walmart and McDonald's have already started scaling back on their DEI initiatives.
Executive orders targeting DEI Americans. So in a separate order, Trump ordered all executive departments and agencies to terminate what he called discriminatory and illegal preferences, policies, programs, guidance, and other provisions to combat illegal private sector DEI preferences, mandates, and policies. In doing so, he revoked decades of executive orders, including the Equal Opportunity Order of 1965, signed by former President Lyndon B. Johnson. It calls for each agency to identify up to 9 potential civil compliance investigations of publicly traded corporations, large nonprofit corporations and associations, foundations with assets of $500 million or more. So what this means to you as an African or Caribbean immigrant working in the United States is that over the years, there has been suggestion that the affirmative action that was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court last year was making companies be able to hire you or force the company to hire a person that was not a white individual, meaning that if they were Black, Latino, Asian, that they had to hire them to fill up some type of quota. Well, now an executive order has been put forth. What that means is that you as a Caribbean or African immigrant, you applying for a job, applying for admission into a university or college, you will now only be taken based on either your experience or how that company feels that you can relate and or make that company or university better. This has been controversial even in smaller circles that I've been in person and online. People have been feeling that, it was already hard enough as a African or Caribbean immigrant to get a job, and now it's going to be that much harder. Well, here's an executive order that says that, hey, it's not going to be illegal for companies to be hiring solely based on either their sex, religion, or skin color.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir?
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but, and when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens. Pretty sad though, think of it. China pays 39 million and we pay 500 million.
And last but not least, Trump signed an order pulling the United States from the World Health Organization, a process he started during his first term. Monday's order said that the United States will withdraw due to the organization's mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic and other world health crises, its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, and its inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states. So what this means to African and Caribbean immigrants is that at least, you may have came from a country that supported the World Health Organization, but now the United States is not a country that supports that. So should a epidemic or a pandemic were to occur, the U.S. would act independently based on what the Trump administration would deem fit. All right. And there you go for the executive orders that we feel that could have an impact, or that African or Caribbean immigrants or the African diaspora was questioning on how it could reflect and impact them. Do you agree with these executive orders? Are you against it? Do you feel that these next 4 years under the Trump administration living in the United States is going to be one hell of a ride? Or are you looking forward to it? Are you saying that, these are necessary? We want to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments below. Also, if there was anything that I missed that is in regards relating to the African diaspora and African and Caribbean immigrants, let us know in the comments below. With that being said, I'm Ochanda with Kush Konvos TV. See you soon.